news comes first. This is ABC 7 Extra.
Welcome to ABC 7 Extra Sunday. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Ross. Well, there was no shortage of news stories in 2024, but what local stories were the 7 most impactful of the year? Well, some of the stories, in all likelihood, will continue to be a part of our coverage in 2025. Our newsroom management team sat down a couple of weeks ago to discuss this, and during the next half hour, we'll be sharing our list with you. Joining me to talk about our top 7 stories of 2024, ABC 7's anchor team of Stephanie Vai and Paul Cicala. Chief Meteorologist Dave Spielman and Sports Director Adrian Ochoa will also share their top story of the past year. And Stephanie, let's start with you.
All right, thank you, Mark. Well, first of all, our number 7 story, the ongoing issues with the Gateway Hotel in downtown El Paso. Back in September, an injunction was granted to shut down the hotel and help relocate the residents. A lawsuit was filed by the El Paso County Attorney against the hotel's owner after the county reported police were called to the building nearly 700 times over 2 years to investigate criminal activity ranging from heavy drug use to theft, sexual assaults, and an unattended death in the building. The county attorney also alleged the building operated without proper licenses and harbored members of the Tren de Aragua Venezuelan gang. According to legal documents, owner Howard Yoon took ownership of the building in 2015 and spent years trying to bring it up to code. Problems with the Gateway Hotel stretch back to 2013, where there were concerns about the condition of the hotel posing an immediate danger to residents. Those problems included water damage, exposed wiring, a non-working fire sprinkler system, and appliances leaking carbon monoxide. It got a temporary occupancy permit in 2018, but that later expired. Yet, the hotel continued to operate. In October of this year, the lawsuit between the county and the hotel's owners was settled. The Gateway Hotel owner, Yoon, agreed to not operate a business at the hotel's location. The eviction order issued in September will remain in place, and fire and police officials must be allowed inside to conduct inspections. The hotel owners must pay a $5,000 bond plus court costs. Owners must also fix all issues cited on the last failed fire inspection, and they also have to apply for a new occupancy permit. City officials came under fire after saying the hotel's owners, quote, followed the law to make repairs despite continued violations. Mayor Oscar Leeser maintaining that, quote, no one dropped the ball, we've been very involved, unquote. Then, earlier this month, Project Amistad, a local organization, filed for guardianship of a former Gateway Hotel resident against the wishes of her family. And they received a non-suit ruling from an El Paso judge, which halted the case after the woman's son asked for a dismissal. Now, the saga surrounding the Gateway Hotel got tied up with the migrant border crisis as well, because in those numerous police reports that were filed with the county attorney's initial lawsuit, like I said, there were mentions that the suspected members of the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang were staying in the hotel. And shortly after the injunction was filed, Governor Greg Abbott and the Texas DPS Director Stephen McGraw held a news conference about international gang activity, and McGraw said El Paso was ground zero for Tren de Aragua.
And our number 6 story of the 2024 year, the arrest here in El Paso of 2 leaders of one of Mexico's biggest drug cartels. In July, 76-year-old Ismael Zambada Garcia, also known as El Mayo, shown on the left, and Joaquin Guzman Lopez, the son of infamous drug lord El Chapo Guzman, on the right, were arrested after landing in a private plane at the Santa Teresa airport just outside of El Paso. The men are known to be 2 of the top leaders of Mexico's Sinaloa cartel. U.S. officials say Guzman Lopez planned their arrests, and officials say Zambada thought he was flying to northern Mexico to look at some real estate. Zambada's attorney, however, described the incident as a violent kidnapping. Guzman Lopez was taken to Chicago, where he pleaded not guilty to narcotics, money laundering, and firearms charges. He faces the death penalty. El Mayo Zambada was arraigned in Brooklyn, New York on 17 counts of related to drug trafficking, firearms offenses, and money laundering. Now, in a strange twist to the story, Mexican officials considered bringing treason charges against Guzman or anyone else involved in the plot to bring El Mayo to justice. The Mexican Attorney General's office said it had opened a criminal investigation, quote, for the possible crimes of illegal flight, illicit use of airports, immigration and customs violations, kidnapping, treason, and any other crimes that may apply, end quote. The response is based on an article in Mexico's penal code that lays out sentences of up to 40 years in prison for treason. The article includes the traditional definitions of treason, attacking Mexico on behalf of a foreign power or serving a foreign army, but also stated treason is committed, quote, by those who illegally abduct a person in Mexico in order to hand them over to authorities of another country, end quote. That clause was apparently motivated by the abduction of a Mexican doctor wanted for allegedly taking part in the 1985 torture and killing of U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration agent Enrique Kiki Camarena. As of this broadcast, there's been no update on the investigation by the Mexican Attorney General's office.
Our number 5 story of 2024 is the crisis happening with El Paso's 3 major school districts, El Paso, Isleta, and Socorro. All 3 districts continue to operate in the red due to decreases in state funding and falling enrollment rates. In the El Paso School District, trustees voted in November to close 8 elementary schools: Carlos Rivera, Lamar, Newman, Putnam, Rusk, and Zavala in the 2025-26 school year, while Stanton and Travis will close in the 2026-27 school year. The closure decision came after the district held a number of public meetings regarding their destination district redesign plan. Trustees also approved a $542 million budget for the 2024-25 school year. That budget has an $18.5 million shortfall. The district will have to tap into reserves to cover the budget. The district has not said whether they plan to sell the unused properties to help decrease the deficit. In the Isleta district, a similar situation. In June, the YASD board approved a $408.2 million budget with a $17.2 million deficit for the 2024-25 school year. It included a $550 stipend, but no pay raises for employees. This is the 3rd consecutive year the district has approved a budget with higher expenses than it expects to make in revenue. Meanwhile, the Socorro School District was dealing with bigger problems. For the last 8 months, the district has been overseen by 2 conservators appointed by the Texas Education Agency. They came on board after a state investigation found what was called widespread failings in the district. They include a multi-million-dollar deficit, which has led to the district taking out a $25.1 million short-term loan to pay employees. Hundreds of students who did not meet graduating standards in 2019 yet still received diplomas. Failing to disclose a possible conflict of interest involving an SISD trustee and a vendor. And $283,000 in unauthorized stipends. One of the 2 conservators was on ABC 7 Extra Sunday last month. He told me they'll be working with the district to correct those widespread failings for at least another 6 to 8 months. Also, an SISD trustee and his wife were arrested in May for an incident that happened back in 2021. Trustee Ricardo Castellano was arrested on 2 counts of obstruction or retaliation. His wife Gabriela also arrested on 2 charges of obstruction or retaliation. Also in May, trustee Pablo Barrera was arrested on charges of official oppression for offenses that happened in 2022. Both trustees continue to serve on the district board. Still ahead, the stories that were the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd biggest of 2024. But first, Chief Meteorologist Doppler Dave Spielman has the year's biggest weather story.
Doppler Dave in the ABC 7 Weather Lab. The big weather story for 2024 has been both the heat and the drought. This are the number of triple-digit days we had. 55. The average is 24. You folks in Las Cruces, nearly 40 triple-digit days. And when it comes to rainfall, I mean, look at the deficit we're in. Year-to-date, 4.73. Our annual average is 8.78. And you guys in Las Cruces, you are below average. Year-to-date, 3.64. Annual average, just over 9 inches of rain.